So today, we're diving into the all-new Genesis Magma GT. The car that nobody expected, nobody asked for, and somehow might end up becoming the biggest surprise of the decade. We're going to break down exactly what this thing is, why Genesis suddenly wants to jump into the supercar arena, what's going on with the Magma Performance division, the rumors about a twin-turbo V8, and how this car could completely change the brand forever. And trust me, the deeper you go into this story, the crazier it gets. So let's start with the obvious, the design. The Genesis Magma GT looks like the designers got one simple instruction: make something that looks like it's ready to race. And they delivered. This thing looks angry. You've got the Genesis signature split headlights, but they're sharpened down to these razor thin lines, almost like someone took a lightsaber and sliced them onto the car. Move down to the front end and it gets even more insane. The front splitter is massive, the intakes are huge, the grille area is cleaned up, modern, and sharp. It looks less like a luxury brand trying to look sporty and more like a racing team trying to look street legal. Walk around to the side profile and you instantly notice the mid-engine layout. Finally, Genesis has stepped out of the sedan and SUV world and built something with legit supercar proportions. Low roof, long doors, huge side intakes that look like they're swallowing air. And then there's the back. It's clean, it's wide, and it's mean. You get that full-length LED strip, which is basically the Genesis signature at this point, and a diffuser that looks something like it was stolen from a GT3 race car. But here's where it gets fun. Genesis didn't actually give us any real specs yet, which is honestly the best way to build hype. Because the rumors, they're kind of wild. The biggest one is the twin-turbo V8. Genesis has been cooking a V8 in their new motorsport division, the same program behind their GMR-001 race car. That car is reportedly running a twin-turbo V8 that can easily push 600 to 700 horsepower. So now everyone looking at the Magma GT like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because you don't build a mid-engine supercar body, tie it into your motorsport division, and then throw in a 4-cylinder hybrid. Not when you've got a fresh V8 developing in your basement. Now the interior continues the theme. It's simple, it's focused, and it's not trying to be a spaceship like a McLaren and not trying to be a living room like a Mercedes. Carbon is everywhere, 2 sculpted seats, and a steering wheel designed for actual driving, not for showing off at the valet stand. Now here's the part most people don't realize. The Magma GT wasn't designed to be a one-off concept for Instagram likes. This car is the foundation of something bigger, the new Magma Performance division. Think of Magma as Genesis's answer to AMG, M Division, Nismo, and Audi Sport all at once. Genesis said they want Magma to be their high-performance pillar, and the GT is the first brick. The whole Magma program is basically Genesis saying, we love luxury, sure, but we're kind of bored, so let's go racing. And this is exactly what they're doing. They're entering endurance racing, they're building GT3 cars, and they're developing engines from scratch. And the Magma GT is the poster child for the new generation of Genesis. This car is supposed to show the world that Genesis isn't just a luxury brand anymore, they're a full-on racing competitor. Now, they're not trying to copy Ferrari, they're not trying to copy Lamborghini, they're trying to create their own lane. And honestly, I think it's working. Because think about it, 10 years ago, Hyundai and Genesis were punching up hard. They were chasing Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes, and they were building decent luxury cars, but couldn't quite shake off the budget brand image. And now you've got cars like the G70 and the G90 who are legitimate competitors to some of the other cars in this class. You got the Hyundai N cars who are also embarrassing hot hatches twice their price. It is important to remember something a lot of people forget. Hyundai has the engineering talent to make this happen. They've already built world-class platforms, they built great performance engines, and they've already built award-winning designs. So if there's any brand that can come out of nowhere with a supercar that punches well above its weight, it's these guys. But here's the big problem, and it's honestly kind of the elephant in the room. Nobody takes a brand seriously the first time they try to build a supercar. That's just how it goes. Supercar buyers don't care about value. They don't care about being the underdog. They care about image. They care about showing up to a car meet and having people recognize the badge. Take the Corvette C8, for example. When Chevy released it, half of the world called it a revolutionary mid-engine supercar, and the other half said it was just a knockoff Ferrari. People argued about whether it really belonged in the supercar conversation or if it was just a very expensive sports car trying to play with the big boys. But Chevy did the same thing Genesis is trying now. They took a huge risk, built a mid-engine car, and forced the world to pay attention. And that risk worked out well in their favor. The C8 Corvette is now one of the most popular cars this year. But the problem is Genesis faces the exact same uphill battle. Even if the Magma GT is incredible, 650 horsepower, twin-turbo V8, mid-engine layout, all the performance cues you could ask for, some people are still going to say it's a luxury brand's wannabe Ferrari. Others will argue it's a legitimate supercar that's finally stepping out of the shadows. But the challenge isn't building the car, the challenge is convincing the world that it belongs here. Because perception is everything in a supercar game, and Genesis doesn't have decades of racing heritage, so how does Genesis fix that? Well, it's honestly quite simple. You build trust the same way every underdog performance brand has ever done it. You go racing. Audi did it, Lexus did it, Toyota did it, Nissan did it, Acura did it. And when a brand wants to be taken seriously in the performance world, they don't start by building a street car, they start by proving themselves on the track. And that is exactly what Genesis plans to do. Their new racing division, the one behind that V8, is the biggest key to the Magma GT actually working. Because once people see a Genesis car competing in GT3, maybe entering WEC, maybe one day showing up at Le Mans, suddenly the Magma GT looks like a less random concept and more like a statement. Because racing builds credibility, racing builds hype, and racing builds identity, especially among brands. Once Genesis starts winning on the track, nobody's going to laugh at a Genesis supercar, they're going to want one. Another important piece of the puzzle is the overall Magma lineup. Now, Genesis already confirmed there will be Magma versions of their normal cars, performance-focused SUVs, maybe even EV performance cars. Now, the more Magma cars they release, the more people will start seeing Genesis as a performance brand, not just a luxury one. And once that identity sticks, once the public starts associating the brand with speed, handling, racing, and engineering, the Magma GT suddenly makes perfect sense. So when you look at this brand new Magma GT, you're not just looking at a cool car, you're looking at the first chapter of something huge. A brand deciding to reinvent itself. A supercar meant to pull Genesis into a whole new league. A performance division with real racing plans behind it, and a design that says we're here and we're going to do this. And this means the future looks way more exciting than anyone could have possibly expected. Now, the Magma GT isn't just Genesis taking a risk, it's Genesis taking the fight straight to the brands that never saw them coming. And honestly, I think the car world needs that. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, but I really want to know your thoughts. What do you think about the Magma GT or Magma Racing, or even just about Genesis and Hyundai in general? I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. But if you want to learn about the top 5 muscle cars that you can buy for under $10,000, then click on this video right here, and I will see you in the next one.